Now, to get a different perspective on the situation going on in Libya, we're joined by Webster Tarpley, Dr. Tarpley, author and historian from Washington. Dr. Tarpley, thank you for joining us on this broadcast. Do you think that Gaddafi and his family can get out of this situation alive?
I think that the Gaddafi family, in whole or in part, will survive and fight on for quite a long time. And this is an open-ended conflict, and I don't think anyone can guarantee which way it's going to go, especially in the light of today's news. It is a shocking, unbelievable, nightmarish report. But the new rebel commander, the military dictator of the city of Tripoli, is none other than the infamous Abdul Hakim Belhaj. This is an international terrorist. He is a famous, notorious genocidalist of al-Qaeda, who has fought for al-Qaeda and carried out international terrorism all across the globe. He is now exercising powers of life and death over the inhabitants of Tripoli, and of course he's been brought into town on a carpet of NATO bombs. He's going to be receiving billions of dollars from the United States, the most modern weapons, diplomatic support, recognition, media support, moral support, special forces support, and everything else. This guy is a moving target because he uses multiple aliases, but I think there's every reason to believe that he is a former member of the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, and I think his existing sources point to the fact that his cover name is Abdul Hakim Hasadak, and that would make him Hassadi. That would make him the infamous Hassadi. I think we can tentatively identify him as the terror emir of the city of Derna. Remember, Hassadi got a lot of attention earlier this year. He was written up in the Italian papers. He was written up in the Daily Telegraph of London, the Wall Street Journal, the Weekly Standard here in Washington. There were three top terrorists running the city of Derna, and that was this Hassadi or Hasadak, that's Belhaj, under one of his aliases. Then we had Kumu, the former chauffeur for Osama bin Laden, who had spent 6 years in Guantanamo Bay concentration camp, and then the infamous Barani of the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group. This guy Belhaj or Hassadi, if that's the identification, was trained personally by Osama bin Laden at cost in Afghanistan. He has boasted in the past of having taken 25 terrorists into Afghanistan. He has boasted of killing American soldiers, and he was for a time a U.S. prisoner of war. I believe in Pakistan, although other reports say also in Thailand. He's been all across the globe. So remember, in the springtime, we had Admiral Stavridis, the U.S. intelligence czar, said that we had flickers of al-Qaeda. Well, this is not a flicker. This is a supernova of al-Qaeda now bursting over the city of Tripoli. And the presence of this butcher, this killer, because he's a mass murderer, this guy is on the level of Heinrich Himmler or numerous war criminals.
Mr. Tarpley, if I can interrupt you for one.
To Obama, who's notorious.
Mr. Tarpley, if I can interrupt you briefly,
being soft on terrorism by his opposition.
Mr. Tarpley, if I can interrupt you briefly, Mahmoud Jibril is the head executive chairman of the National Transitional Council. Last week was having a press conference with Nicolas Sarkozy, French president, and they were keen on using France as saying that Big Brother and France will back them up, continue to send them aid, and continue to help them militarily. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because NATO has been using al-Qaeda infantry, and that's exactly what we see here. The ground forces, this rabble, they're essentially a kind of irregular force between guerrillas and terrorists. They would never be able to advance 1 inch or to attack any significant target if it weren't for this comprehensive, overwhelming NATO air bombardment. So it's essentially war on the cheap. You don't really have to use mercenaries. You can simply bring in these al-Qaeda people and they fight as fanatics. Then after that, they demand the $80 billion of Libyan assets that they're going to steal, because these people will put it away then in their numbered accounts in Switzerland. So Sarkozy, of course, is the biggest adventurer in all of this. He's been the most aggressive, the most outrageous in his being out in front in this entire effort. But now I think it's going to come home to roost, because now we've got a top al-Qaeda leader, a notorious international terrorist, who is their guy running the city of Tripoli. And this is supposed to be democracy and human rights and the Constitution, except it's an al-Qaeda terrorist carrying this all out. Any normal Libyan has no hope under this circumstance. Any woman is in big trouble. There's a Roman Catholic population there.
Well, Dr. Tarpley, I do apologize. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, we did run out of time. That was Dr. Webster Griffin Tarpley. Thank you for taking time to join us on PressTV's World News, author and historian from Washington, giving us his perspective on the situation occurring with Libya.